So, if I was stranded on a desert island and someone said you have to pick 10 perfumes to bring with you for the rest of your life, I suppose it would take some time to decide, but I've already done the deciding. I have a list here of perfumes to show you that I suppose most people say perfumes for life. That's the big title that people use, and that's the title I'm using, so these are the perfumes that I would pretty much not die without, but I would prefer to have them. So I'll start here with, I suppose, number 10. I could technically go without it, and then I'll end on the last one, which is my favorite. So we'll start with this one. I think most people know this one. Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue. Classic, fresh lemon apple scent. Very good for the summer, I've found. I live in a very hot climate, so it's always summer. And it's just very pleasant for staying refreshed, crisp. That Granny Smith apple note really is the main note in light blue. You can't go wrong with that. And it's an inoffensive fragrance that most people like, so, you know, it's a win-win fragrance. So it's also affordable. I think it's only $70 or less. I don't really know the exact price, but besides that, we have one that is a little bit less on the popularity, but I still enjoy it, is another Dolce & Gabbana. This is Sicily. So the interesting thing about this is that it starts out as a very kind of clean, light, white floral, and then it turns into this very warm, very kind of comforting fragrance. Mainly warms up from some the wood notes, mainly, with a little bit of musk thrown in. And it's just very pleasant. It lasts a long time. It's just very pleasant. It's kind of hard to find, actually. At least what I have found. I don't know if Dolce & Gabbana just is kind of putting it off to the side in favor of other perfumes, but I personally quite like it. It's just a very nice kind of different sort of fragrance. It reminds me a little bit of saffron. Something about, you know, there's a little bit of that spiciness thrown in. Not too strong, not like cloves or anything, but just a light herbal spiciness. So very pleasant, very pleasant. And this next one is much more famous. Baccarat Rouge 540. So this is kind of a polarizing scent. I have recently discovered. Some people like this, some people hate this. I'm in the group that likes it. So the interesting thing about this fragrance is that it's very, very, very strong. You could put on a few dabs and walk into a room and everyone in the room is gonna smell it. And most people don't realize that they're putting on too much when they're applying it, because you're instantly kind of doused in this super powerful scent and you don't realize how strong it is. So then when you go out into the world, everyone else can smell it on you except for you. So you do have to be careful with that. But this is another kind of saffron sort of scent, which I like. It, you know, saffron has a very nice kind of warm quality. And it's also sweet. And usually I'm not a huge fan of sweet perfumes, but this one does sweetness it blends that sweetness with the spice, this kind of tingly spice note, which is interesting. I like it. And most of all, I like that it's long-lasting. Long-lasting perfumes are always high on my lists. And it's, I mean, I have the sample because it's ridiculously expensive. But it does come in a very nice, true Baccarat crystal bottle, if you get the full bottle. But it, you know, you do have to pay for that quality. So, next one is, I mean, I think most people like this. This is going to be on most people's lists, probably. Chanel number 5. You can't go wrong with it. I don't know anyone who dislikes Chanel number 5. It's light florals, aldehydes, which make it very crisp and nice. Then it is weighed down with sandalwood, civet, which gives it a little bit of animalistic quality. and then some oak moss, amber, and some other stuff, and florals, obviously. But Chanel No. 5 is such a classic choice, and besides the fact that it's classic, it just smells good. It has the perfect balance between these refreshing florals and then this warm wave of woodsy, animalistic amber sort of thing. So I'm always a fan of warm perfumes mostly. Refreshing perfumes, I could go with or without them. I mean, light blue is probably the crispest perfume that I have on this list. The rest of them are pretty warm. But Chanel No. 5, you know, very good choice. It's good for all occasions. Daytime, evening, parties, the office, you know. Hard to go wrong with it. Now this is actually for men. Versace Eros, very popular scent. This is something I've discovered recently. It's just a delightful fragrance. I was fooled at first when I first smelled it because it has these really sharp notes of citrus and mint and, you know, typical aromatics that you would expect from, you know, a men's cologne, those very sharp, clean scents. But then it really takes this dive into this very warm vanilla and wood notes and vetiver and ambraxan and very, you know, it really takes flips its coin, I suppose. And it's those warm notes come in a few minutes after you start wearing it, because when I first put it on for the first few minutes, it was really mainly just like the citrus notes and the mint, you know, so refreshing. Then it turns into this really kind of warm, seductive scent. So I like the scent a lot. Versace Eros. Now, interestingly, I reviewed the Versace Eros Per Femme, which I hated, and I expected this to be somewhat the same, but quite the opposite. I quite like this one, the original men's fragrance. So, the next one is Shalimar by Guerlain. This is a great fragrance. Some people will say it's for old ladies, you can't wear it. No, this is high class, high tier, high quality fragrance, Shalimar. Of course it's not for everyone, it's a very heavy, incensey perfume. Definitely smoky, it has those heavy amber notes, kind of reminds you of a crackling fire. And it also has some citrus notes, that, you know, just, it's very well-rounded. And I personally like how warm it is. It really gets to the true smokiness. And a lot of perfumes don't do that. They especially don't dare to do that these days. It's not, you know, smoke isn't too popular these days in the perfume industry. But for me, that is just such a good, wonderful fragrance, Shalimar. And the bottle, you can see what the bottle looks like here. Very finely crafted. It used to be pure Baccarat crystal. I don't think it is anymore, but very just high quality. Now, this one is actually different from my usual kind of warm, musky fragrances, but Sublime by Jean Patou. And this is super, it's not smoky and it's not musky, but it's still warm. It's mainly floral, with a little bit of fruit thrown in, but it's this overwhelming warmth. It's like they bottled sunshine. That's the only way I could describe it. They got the sun and put it in the bottle, and maybe a little bit of pineapple in there or something. It reminds you of the tropics a little bit. Very kind of a cozy, happy, joyful sort of fragrance, which I enjoy. And it is, you know, a nice perfume to wear when I'm not wearing something musky or smoky, I suppose. Something very different, very unique. It's unique because I haven't come across any perfumes that come anywhere nearly close to this perfume. So, one of a kind, I suppose. And let's see, this other one from Chanel as well is Coco. So Coco is not to be confused with Coco Mademoiselle, which is also by Chanel, that's more modern. This is from the 80s, 1980s, and it's a really wonderful, very similar to Shalimar, very wonderful spicy fragrance. Spicy, woodsy, mainly just this overall very warm fragrance. A little bit bold, but not too bold. And it's just such a good fragrance. It has some vanilla notes that kind of swoop in and smooth out the rough edges that it has. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to go wrong with it, at least for me. Some people might not like how spicy it is. Has some cloves, I think, thrown in there. And actually, this is my next perfume here, Youth Dew by Estee Lauder. Very similar to Coco. And it's probably why I also like it. Very spicy. Cloves, nutmeg, what's the other one? Allspice, cinnamon. This is like a Christmas concoction. All those spices really come together. And also some floral notes. There's some rose. I want to say there's jasmine. And some wood notes as well. And it's just very pleasant. It could easily be overpowering. But when you spray it on, not too much. Very pleasant. It's a vintage fragrance that came out in 1953, and it's just such a good fragrance. It evolves over time, it becomes more vanilla as you wear it. Just very pleasant. A little bit powdery as well. That powderiness kind of keeps those spice notes balanced. And then my last one here, which is at the moment, my favorite. This is Le du Temps by Nina Ricci. This is great because it's actually similar to Chanel No. 5 in the fact that it's this floral aldehyde fragrance, but it's weighed down by these wood notes and a bit of musk that really kind of transforms it into, definitely, it's not your average, not your ordinary floral fragrance. It's not sweet. It's not sweet and it's not refreshing, not crisp, but very, I don't know how to describe it, but just very smooth, reminds me a little bit of, bath oil, or very warm, kind of like the sun a little bit. Very feminine, and yet there's this element of, this seductive element that comes from the base notes. And it really kind of anchors the floral and aldehydes, which would otherwise be very, crisp and light, but it anchors it and makes it very kind of this delicious fragrance. So, those are pretty much my, as you would say, perfumes for life. At least at the moment. I'm sure they will change over time, but for right now, that's what I have. So, if you have any recommendations or ideas for perfumes that you enjoy, you can leave those down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.